Hey everybody!
Hey everybody!
Welcome to your satisfying crunch.
Welcome back to the couch. Excuse you. You forgot part 3. Just because she's not with us doesn't mean you get to skip that. Welcome back to a shallow dive.
Did we decide we were going to call it a shallow dive? It's been so long since we made a video, I don't know what we're supposed to do anymore.
Did we want to talk about how long it's been since we made a video?
Well, let's see. We're on a different couch in front of a different wall. I have different facial hair, and there has been a lot of stuff that's gone on a personal level for us in the last 6 months or so, and a lot of changes in our situation, and we're not going to talk about any of them. Let's just talk about Horizon Zero Dawn.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right. No, we're not doing the all right thing. That's just not going to happen.
Get a load of this guy. You did the Wayne's World graphic?
No.
Is that trademark?
Ah!
Wow! So before we call this a shallow dive, if we're going to make part 2, what's like getting up out of the water called?
Getting up out of the water.
That's a bad name for a video series.
Alright, let's just call it a shallow dive then. Today we're doing a shallow dive on
Horizon Zero Dawn.
A couple of months ago we did a video where we talked about our initial impressions of Horizon Zero Dawn, and at that point I think each of us had played probably a dozen hours or less. So everything was our first impressions and the first things that we had seen going on in the game. I was just blown away by the graphics and the details and the rendering and just the world in itself, where I would stop and just look at the background.
I was at a point where I was really enjoying the combat, but I didn't think there was much else in the way of substance in the game. It felt pretty much like, let's fight robot dinosaurs. Yeah, let's! And that did change for me throughout the course of the game.
I was on board really from the beginning with the character and the world. You were enjoying the combat, you were enjoying the ideas, but the world itself and the story, the characters were really secondary at that point. And it took you quite a while before you really kind of latched into the story.
Until I got later into the game and started learning more about why the game is called Zero Dawn, and sort of Aloy's origins, and got further along in her quest, I hadn't found a lot of characters that I really resonated with or enjoyed, and I was having trouble...
Looking at the camera?
I'm looking at the camera right now. Where's the camera? Hold on, point to it towards me in case I'm confused. Right, yeah, over there. I was having trouble really sinking my teeth into a lot of the characters and the story of the game because a lot of the dialogue felt shallow. And it wasn't until later that I started meeting more of the characters that I really enjoyed and getting a voice for people that I thought were more impressive. And in the story, all of the characters are pretty strong, but I was mostly fighting monsters and going around on the side quests, and all of those were very quick, and it's talk to a person for a few minutes, go find a fetch item for your quest, and then talk to a person for a few minutes. And so it wasn't particularly gripping in the character or the story elements until I sort of got into the main lines of the game.
Yeah, I followed the main line a little bit more quickly than you did, I think. I liked the way that you started off really small and very self-centric, that Aloy's main concern was about herself and her origin and why she's an outcast and why she's why she's treated the way she is. I think this would be a good time to say, hey, spoiler alert, this is definitely a spoiler-filled video.
Not so much a shallow dive as it is our shallow review at this point.
Right, if you haven't played the game yet and you don't want any spoilers, now would be a good time to stop watching this video. As Aloy discovers more about herself and more about her origins and more about her, her past, it expands that focus. And so I think they did a really good job of allowing you to learn about yourself and then to learn about the world and then to care about the world, because you care about yourself, and as you find your connection with the world, you care about the world and the situation that the world is in, which is perilous. Aloy's problems happen to be pretty closely related to the problems of the entire world. Yes, everybody's problems. Aloy's problems are everybody's problems, and the way that progresses is done really well. I agree. My first real emotional moment came when I caught up with Olin. I totally understand why you did what you did. I get it. Oh man, I feel so sorry for you. And I'm still gonna kill you. Still gonna kill you. Because you did what you did, I'm gonna have to, do what you did, what you had to do, and now I'm gonna do what I had to do. And in case you're wondering, not killing him doesn't change the game at all. You feel good about the fact that you reunited him with his family. Yeah, he sees his family. His family's all happy. I tell him, be a better man, and he says, okay. And then you don't even see him at the end. That's a missed opportunity for Guerrilla. There could have been some contribution that he made at the end. Or at least have him show up as you're going around talking to all of the different people before the last battle. My initial thing that I had a real challenge with was the combat system. Picking a weapon, switching between weapons, and making sure that I had the weapon that I wanted, and I was using the ammo that I wanted, and all of that stuff was a huge challenge to me at the beginning. Once I got used to it, though, it really just fell into place. It really became, over the course of the game, probably about the 20-hour mark, I realized that I was very easily flicking back and forth between the controls in the middle of a battle, fighting a Thunderjaw and 17 other. There's just the thing. There's always one more. There's always one more robot than you think there is. However many robots you think there are, there's always one more bandit. There's one more robot. There's one more whatever. There's always more of it. Still being able to easily switch back and forth between weapons and lay a trap here and do the thing. It all became really intuitive. Over the course of it, I became really used to the controls, and I very much enjoyed the way that it ended up being. The controls are not as intuitive as they could be. They're not as bad as the Breath of the Wild controls, which are not intuitive at all. You haven't played it, but they're not. It was hard to learn at the beginning, and then I hadn't played it for maybe 2 weeks. I was playing Breath of the Wild, and then I couldn't get back into the controls. It took me a good 5 hours to get used to the controls again. Really? So they're not. Yeah, I mean, you saw me playing around. I couldn't. So the controls are not super intuitive. No, it's because I do suck, but that's not what made me bad at using the controls. I just suck at aiming in particular. I found the combat was really easy to cheese, especially in the beginning. I could press one button and win. Until you get to some of the harder enemies, like fighting Thunderjaws or Stormbirds or the Rock Breakers, you can pretty much repeatedly hit the circle button and never get hit. There's no cooldown period, there's no downtime, you're invincible while you do it, and enemies just can't hit you. So you can just circle, 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 run away forever, and either run away from combat and sneak back in and keep fighting, or just avoid people until you get a good hit off. The way I counteracted that is I played the whole game on super hard, and that meant that when I did make mistakes, it killed me in one hit. It made it less forgiving, and that made it more fun for me. I wouldn't play the game again for the story, but I would definitely be like, oh dude, come over, let's go kill some Thunderjaws. The Thunderjaws are really fun, and the fights feel really gratifying, and you really feel like you can learn a tactic to kill a monster and then practice it and get it down. So it's got that really good groove where you're like, yeah, you killed me the first time, but now I know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna f you up, man. These big monsters will destroy the environment. They will break the cover you're standing under. They'll just go around, they'll run through the rock wall that you're hiding behind. They'll jump up from underneath the cover that you're on, and so these big fights really do feel like you've got to get everything right, and you've got to be on your ball. I always like to play the story games on the easy setting, because I'm here for the story. What I found myself doing as the story went on was a little bit more difficult, so I went to the normal setting. And when I got through everything, I actually went back and started a new game on the very hard. Not because I wanted to do the story again, but I wanted the challenge of hunting them. Cannot emphasize this enough. Hunting robot dinosaurs is fun.
And that's sort of the next element that I want to hit on, is the juxtaposition of what the game had to be versus what lengths the game went to. Because both of us agree that the game sort of had expectations to meet, and it went above and beyond what it needed to do to be successful.
There's no doubt in my mind that the core concept of this game was a couple of developers sitting around a table saying, hey, what if we made a game where you fought robot dinosaurs? I think I would have really been satisfied with any kind of acceptable explanation. I would be willing to suspend my disbelief on the thinnest of supports just to be able to do that.
Full of robots that change into other types of machines, and we get to fight with them. That's wait, no, that's Transformers.
That's Transformers.
Oh right, and we loved that.
We liked that. The first one. The first one.
Oh yeah, no. Story is awful, and once you did the whole robots beating each other up, I already saw that part too.
Right.
But in a video game, that's all you need. The robot dinosaur planet, or the robot dinosaur brood mother.
Right.
Or the moon is a big robot dinosaur egg. Whatever your explanation is, we would have rolled with it.
What we found in this application is that not only is there a justification for the fact that you're fighting these robot dinosaurs, there's a damn good reason, absolutely makes sense, that you're doing that, and that those exist, and that you exist, and the technology that you have versus the technology that they have. It all really makes sense. It's like they started with the actual story, and then it developed to that point, rather than starting at what they wanted and developing the story to it. That gets us to the Project Zero Dawn itself. Now, I was surprised.
I was surprised as well, and before we sort of get into talking about that, I just want to hit on how invested I found myself being, not in just the main story, which was surprisingly emotional. I connected with it, it was moving, and it was well written. It was like that for all of the other little stories in the game. The writing is really well done. Everything that wasn't Aloy getting to choose an option and then react, all of the little vantage point stories and the data logs that they write down, all of the story aspects of the game I was able to connect to, and I thought were really well written.
Yeah, lore level, Dragon Age Inquisition.
There you go, Dragon Age Inquisition.
The lore of
That's a high praise.
was spectacular. Particularly moving was backstory for the vantage points.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there was a written element.
Neither did I.
We spoke about this.
Yeah.
We didn't realize there was a written element at the beginning. So just going back and listening to those logs and that story of, you know, the child and the estranged mom and that kind of thing. I mean, it was just this really amazing emotional moment.
Yeah, and even the motivations behind writing that story, where like the character who we don't even meet, you know, we don't learn the lame. We never learn their name until much later on in the story, but even then I was like, I would want to write that story too. Like, yeah, go, you make those vantage points. On every level, I think the stories that the game wanted to tell did it right, and they really hit with me.
You start out as an outcast, and it's kind of a mechanism so that she doesn't sound weird when she talks to herself all the time, I think. But as you go on, you make these little connections, and they're really small connections, like your connection with Varl, and your connection with Soma, and your connection with who's the a-hole, the latrine guard.
Rash?
Rash?
It's Rash. It's not Rash.
Right?
That would be funny.
There's nothing forced. There's no forced connection. You're not like, oh, Varl, you're my best friend since forever. Let's do the thing. It's not like that. It's you meet him, and then over time you get to talk to him a little bit more. You get to know this character slowly all of the characters, and that development, and even though some of the dialogue seems a little bit odd or seems a little bit wooden, over time all of it's important, and all of those interactions are really,
I would definitely agree,
amazing. And when you get to the end and you're going into the final battle, and all of your friends are there too, and they each have this, they have a reason for being there. I'm here because I believe in this, and I want to fight for this, and I want to do this thing, and I'm here for you.
You know, you're part of it. You're not all of it, but you're definitely part of it. And I think that that's really what stuck with me at the end of the game, is because at the beginning, I didn't really love the characters. I didn't really think they were great. And at the end, there were no characters who I was like, yeah, you're whatever. I was like, oh my god, you're here. I remember that. You're here. Yeah, I remember that too.
Right, I remember that. I remember when we did the thing.
And I was going through all of them, and I was like, yeah, I really liked you. Oh, I really liked that character. Yeah, I really liked that character.
There were characters I didn't like. Resh is obviously, but he's supposed to be unlikable. He's not a bad character. He's just unlikable. I think he's a well-written, unlikable character.
That's the key difference.
Olin is a well-written, unlikable character.
If you dislike a character, then they usually are well written because you have some sort of emotional reaction to them. Right. If they're a poorly written character, then that sucks, but that's usually because they're falling flat. Being able to say, yeah, I don't like you as an individual in this story means that the game is writing it well.
Props to the writers in Dragon Age 2, because I'm still mad at Anders. It's been 4 years. I'm still mad at him. That was really good writing. Some of the characters you only get to see a little bit. In particular, Petra, I really liked.
I really liked Petra, and I really liked the woman who you helped. Venetia? You helped her rescue the Boy King who was leading the Shadow Carja.
Right. Now we have to get to the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
The story itself. Throughout the whole thing, I really thought, as I got the pieces and I started watching through this thing, I had nailed it. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew who was going to do what. I knew that we were going to have this group of people who were building an ark, and they were trying to get all of the people on the ark, and that they were going to have a rebellion from the people who realized that they weren't going to be able to get on the ark, and it was going to be this big cluster, and there was going to be this huge thing. And I knew that that was going to happen, and I was completely wrong.
Not completely wrong. If you listen to the data clips and read everything, they did try to build an ark, but it blew up, I think.
Zero Dawn wasn't the only thing.
They were doing it at the same time as Zero Dawn.
Right, that was one of the things that I really liked about the world. The lore of this is that Zero Dawn wasn't the only thing that was going on. There were several other projects that people were working on to try to do it. It was just one of the
better shots.
It was the one that worked.
Spoiler alert, because now we're actually going to say what the story is.
When I found out that, in fact, the machines did destroy the world.
Yeah.
And they did kill everybody and everything, and that the world did end.
And it's not even like the world ended and then life sprung back up from the world. No. The world ended and it was over forever.
I actually had to stop playing for a few minutes because, actually for a few days.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that they actually did that. Okay, I knew that was a possibility, but oh my god, I didn't think you were actually gonna do it.
All life on Earth ends, and if they didn't complete Zero Dawn, no life would ever come back. The best mark of the writing is I'm going in and I'm like, and if they were, 2 weeks late, blah 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 would have happened. I'm in the game, I'm in the world, and I'm talking about it as if it wasn't a story made up by people, but as if it's a real thing that would have had different outcomes. The story is not just believable, it feels real, and the characters feel real, and from the get-go, everyone's reactions tip you off to sort of, yeah, this isn't gonna be good. When you finally get to that moment, you're like, oh my god, this isn't good.
Right.
You know?
I was blown away, and the way that they set up all of the secondary characters that you only learn through your written logs and your audio logs as you're going through.
So I think those were the strongest characters.
They really created a real world and a real situation that made us feel real emotion. Now that you've gone through the whole thing, the last time when we were looking at it and we'd only been a dozen hours in, you said that you would recommend somebody buy it on sale.
Full price. Buy the game, play the game. If you can't buy the game, watch someone else play the game.
Should they buy a PS4 just so they can play this game?
No, YouTube is free. Fighting dinosaurs is fun, but it's not that fun. And if you really want to experience it, it's not like, what, $350 of fun?
I don't know what a PS4 costs now,
if you really want the story, watch it on YouTube and get someone who doesn't talk over it, because you really want all those data logs and all those voiceovers and stuff.
The lore is such an amazing part of it.
If you ran through the game and didn't listen to any of the pickups and didn't read any of the chapters, it would be an empty game.
I don't know that it would be an empty game, but I don't think it would have anywhere near the emotional impact that the full game does.
Because if you think about it, the only cutscenes you would get would be the holograms.
Right.
Because those are the only ones you're forced to watch to progress the scenes.
I think that it makes the story to the next level. The game works on so many levels. The combat is fun. Hunting dinosaurs is fun. From a story factor it works. From a lore factor it works.
Beautifully stunning.
You were finishing up the game earlier this week.
Yep.
I was watching you and I was asking you to stop.
Yeah.
So that we could, no, just stop and look at that.
He gets mad because I spin around really fast.
He spins around too fast. I want to enjoy the whole thing. Let us know what you thought about the game. Let us know if you thought that the plot worked. If you think that we're completely out of our minds. Let us know which parts of the game that you liked the best. What you thought was the most surprising. What you thought was the most fun. Whether or not you're planning on buying the DLC and doing that.
Yeah.
I am. I'm anxiously awaiting the DLC. I want to go into the Banuk territories and
maybe in another 6 months you'll see a video about that.
Maybe you will. Let us know in the comments below whether or not you would like to see more videos like this.
And as always,
it's a new couch,
but there's still
room on it.
This is my cool finger gun outro where I snap and I point my finger gun at it, and then that's the end of the video.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit that part out.